The Fusion page can also be used for making high-quality animated motion graphics. We'll use them to make a 3D title with some particles for our movie. We'll start by adding a 3D text node. With our text node selected, add a camera. Because the text node was selected, Fusion automatically adds a 3D merge tool for you. So go ahead and select the text node, and let's create the base for our title. Type in the name of the film, change the font, and let's adjust the tracking a bit. Even though we're working in 3D space, the text is still 2D. So to give it some dimension and depth, we'll go to the Extrude tab and adjust the extrusion depth, bevel depth, and bevel width. So now let's add a directional light and change some of its settings in the inspector. Let's go ahead and put the X rotation at about -100. Go back to the color tab, adjust the color to a light blue. Okay, so with our light selected, add a point light. And let's adjust its decay type to linear and its intensity to around 0.5 or half. In the 3D viewer, place it under the letter Y. Now just a note, Fusion created a new Merge 3D and added our lights to this node. In the Merge 3D node, select Pass Through Lights. So go ahead and copy our point light and paste 3 more copies. Placing a light under the E, G, and T. For the last T, we'll push it back in Z space so it's not so intense. All right, now with our scene set up, let's start animating. Select the text node, go to frame 40, and let's set a key for our character spacing. Move to about frame 20 and adjust to around 4. To give our text some dynamic or sequential animation, we can right-click on the text field and select the follower. Now let's go to the modifiers tab and start modifying. Double-click the follow title and change the order to inside out and the delay to about 7. In the shading tab, let's animate the X and Y rotations, 200 for X and 90 for Y. Set a key in our parameters and move to frame 40 and go ahead and reset them back to 0. Go to the position and animate the Z offset to have the text fly in from past the camera. Okay, so now we're going to open up our timeline by clicking on the Keyframes tab and move some keyframes around. Select the drop-down menu and click on Show Tool Selected. This will hide all the other nodes and only show us the nodes that we have selected. It's pretty handy. Now let's go ahead and adjust the character spacing to finish towards the end of the shot. And let's move the angle X to about the 55 frame mark. Close the Keyframes panel and open up the Spline panel. This spline panel is incredibly powerful. Select an individual parameter and click on the Zoom to Fit button. Now with that done, select all the keyframes and press Shift-S to smooth out our splines. Do this for the rest of the animated parameters, and we can watch it in the viewer. Now we're ready to add some particles. Before we do this, let's go ahead and tidy up our flow and keep things organized and in place. Select all the 3D nodes and add an underlay tool. Now, an underlay tool is always open, but it allows you to keep your nodes contained and gives you the ability to move them all at once. Now we're ready to add a particle emitter, direction force, friction, and a particle renderer. To output any particles, you always need to have a particle renderer for either 2D or 3D particles. So let's make some changes to our emitter. Let's put number 1 from 10 to about 1,000, and the lifespan to about 30. In the Style tab, change it from point to blob. Real quick, go to the 3D viewer, right-click, and change the transparency to full sort. All right, back in the inspector. Let's adjust some size and fade parameters as well as color. In the Region tab, let's change it to Mesh. This will allow us to use a 3D object, or mesh. So now we can connect our 3D text to the particle emitter. Let's increase our friction and see what we have. All right, great. So let's go ahead and animate the particle emitter so it turns on at around frame 20. and starts to turn off around frame 70. Just keep in mind that we're taking a simple approach to particles. There are many options and creative ways to use them inside of Fusion. Now let's composite our text and particles with our footage. Add a 3D merge to the particle renderer and connect the camera to this as well. This will allow us to have one camera shared across multiple 3D scenes. In the 3D viewer, adjust the view as if it were the camera. Then right-click on the XYZ tool and select Copy this view to camera. This is a great visual way of animating a 3D camera, by the way. In order to composite our 3D titles and our particles, we need to add render nodes to take our 3D environments and render it into a 2D image. Go ahead and quickly create another underlay for our particles. Now let's see this all come together. First, let's merge our 3D text over our footage. And lastly, we'll merge our particles. We're almost done, but let's sweeten up our look. With the text renderer node selected, add a brightness contrast, glow, soft glow, and another glow. Select all these nodes. And when you do, you'll see that all their controls are displayed in the inspector, so you can adjust them. Let's go ahead and add some contrast. Bring down our first glow. And in our soft glow, let's adjust the threshold. And let's streak out our last glow, taking the x-axis all the way up and the y-axis all the way down. And while we're at it, go ahead and change the color as well. Great. Now, copy and paste our glow and soft glow, and let's use them for our particles. But just so you know, we might need to adjust them to fit our particles a little bit better. All right, so let's just add one more thing, a background node. So add a background node, change its color to yellow, yellow-orange, and then take the output of our 3D text renderer and put it to the mask input of our background node. Now merge this in between our text merge and particle merge. Set the apply mode to overlay and animate this merge on with the blend parameter. Now this is a nice little extra touch. It just kind of helps bring the title out. And because we're using a composite mode, it'll blend perfectly right in. And when you're finished, you can take a look at the finished title on the edit page. With Fusion built in to DaVinci Resolve 15, you'll be able to create incredible cinematic visual effects and motion graphics without having to use a separate application. Best of all, you can download your free copy from the Blackmagic Design website and try it today.